Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everybody. We are running almost 2 minutes behind. Oh no, that's I have 1 hour 53 minutes left. We're about 6 minutes late. I am talking to Ben right now, and he is calling in. So Jessica, Ben will be calling in just a matter of seconds. So get ready for this. His call. Our guest tonight is Ben Hansen, and he is a former FBI agent, which I find very impressive, of course. And he is also the host of Fact or Fate. He also has some other things going on in his life. He's working on some other things, which I hope to get to talk to him about a little bit tonight. And I see he is here. So hold on just a minute, and I apologize for this. And we'll get him going. He has a life. Let's see. Here we go. Ben, are you with us here tonight?
How you guys doing?
And yeah, okay, great. Sorry about the snafu this evening.
No worries.
Well, good, because I was talking to a young lady. I don't know if it was really her name or not. What was her name? Cynthia on whatever this is, Blog Talk Radio. I just really don't think her name's really Cynthia, though. But so how are you doing? How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. It's been quite a day, but got a lot of things accomplished. Some fires put out, some stuff to do tomorrow.
Well, it always keeps life interesting. Well, I want to thank you for calling in tonight. I know you're on a very tight schedule. I know we're not going to have you, for a full 2 hours, maybe not even a full hour, which is cool. Like I explained to you earlier, it's an honor to have you on the show. I want to thank you very much for being on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, that's quite all right. One of the things that kept popping up ever since everybody saw that you were going to be on the show, the big question was to me to ask you about the future of Fact or Fate, if you know.
Yeah, well, to be completely honest with you, I think the network has started to take some different directions. They've got a lot of paranormal shows going on, and I know they really love our show. The one thing is that our show costs a lot to produce. We have a lot of experiments and things, and so what it boils down to, a lot of travel. I mean, all the other shows travel too, and we didn't do a whole lot of foreign travel, but it's a cost benefit analysis, and what they're really searching for is for someone to take over that Wednesday slot. Right. And after ghost hunters and eventually fade them out. Grant's no longer with them. Still have a very solid audience, but they want something to take over that slot, and everything they've put in there does fairly well, but then when they try to grow them on a new night, there's only so many viewers to go around in the paranormal genre. And we had good ratings, but for the amount of money they put into the show, they weren't quite where they wanted them to be. So we have not received word about a new order yet. So not looking good, but I tell everyone don't despair because we've got other things in the works.
That's good. That's good. I imagine those are things you really can't talk to us about, right?
Not in too much detail. I am executive producing another paranormal show that we shot a pilot for about a month ago, and that's about ready to be shopped around. I think it has a really good chance of being picked up. If I'm on that show, it would be sort of just as a guest every now and then. And then we've got a couple other shows. One of them I was working on, probably should not mention people's names, but...
Okay. Maybe initials.
Well, you know him. You definitely know him. And we're working on a pilot. We're trying to get a better angle, though, a little bit more fresh angle on the show before we film that pilot. And then we got a couple UFO shows that we're kicking around some ideas. So we're, kind of doing a bit of everything.
Well, good, because I know there are a lot of right now, like you said, the airwaves are inundated with ghost shows, both good and with both good, bad, and terrible, and both. I guess that'd be three. So it seems like they do need to reach out for something a little bit different. Go into the UFOs. They have a Bigfoot show. They get to run around all over the United States yelling at the trees. I'm not saying that because I do believe in Bigfoot. I mean, it just seems like that's all they ever do is just yell at trees. And a good UFO show would be something that would really seem to go over well. UFO Hunters, I think, was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I like that one. I do. What the networks need to realize, though, I think sometimes they're really out of touch, honestly, and I'm not picking on anyone specifically, but networks that try and produce it like a UFO, or I'm sorry, like a ghost hunting show, it doesn't work. UFO investigations, I've got two really good friends who were on a recent show, well, actually three, the whole cast was, that did not do so well, because it was just a bit over the top. When you go out and you see UFOs that are miles away, it's not the same, fear reactions you might have as you're on a ghost hunt. And
it's not Rendlesham.
Exactly. So it's a different feel to it. And you know what? A lot of the networks also they're starting to come around to it again. But if you watch Ancient Aliens, it's a proven concept that as long as the material is compelling, the show will be compelling. But so many of them are so afraid of losing an audience. We got a lot of younger viewers who pretty much, no offense to them, but they have ADHD when it comes to holding attention. And so if something's not, making a noise or screaming every couple of minutes, they tune out. And I think they need to realize that you can still hold their attention without doing, too far down that road in that type of a show, and actually get into more of the science of it, more of the this and that. And that's where I think, Fact or Fake started to bring it back. So we're trying to do more shows in line of that, maybe a little bit more serious, a little bit more highbrow, hey, let's learn something here.
Right, I do, and I understand. I just have a funny feeling about this year. I mean, there's a big talk of Planet X. Never can say it. Nibiru.
Nibiru. Yeah.
Nibiru. It's going to be swinging around the sun and creeping up on us from Antarctica, and whenever we're not going to see it until it's here. And but all this stuff's coming up this year, and like I say, with Bigfoot, I think there's something big. Well, there is going to be something big coming up with that. I mean, there already is, but this, for some reason, 2013 seems like it's going to be a year of a lot of awakening.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm gonna have to write this down so I can say that I did see I was right for once. Now, now Fact or Fake was on 4 years, 3 years?
Yeah, we've been on we started filming in was it 2010? Like the early part of 2010, so 11, 12. So 3 years, 3 seasons so far. They call it 2.75, but it's really 3 seasons. And there's still other parts in the world where they're not even caught up, with airing all of them. So it's unfortunately just reruns for the moment,
right? And
marathons, but they sure get their money's worth by playing it.
Oh, I know.
So
yeah.
It does well on reruns.
Well, what do you think? There were a lot of different stories on that show. one that really kind of sticks out in my mind that had something to do with something maybe alien was a figure that was picked up on someone's security camera up in their front yard. And it looked like it was kind of blowing, and it just kind of moved across the front yard. And you guys, nobody could debunk it, nobody could replicate it. Do you remember which one that was? I'm
trying to remember something glowing. I'm not quite sure. We did have the Fresno case where we had what they call night crawlers or night walkers that were like stick figures that were walking. Was that one you're talking about?
Yes, but it wasn't really glowing. Well, it might have been glowing because of the night vision or the IR signal.
Yeah.
But it just kind of moved spookily across the front yard, and there was no. You came up with with nothing, which was really odd. It almost looked like you see blowing up in front of a Sprint store or something with a fan in it blowing all over the place.
For me personally, I don't think there's any way you can, within their means, to fake that except for CGI, and he wasn't a very good candidate for somebody who was involved in that. This guy, the homeowner, was not a legal citizen. He didn't want to bring any attention to himself to begin with. Yeah, so he didn't want to report it. The way it got reported was that tape was filmed off of a DVR, which raises a suspicion, but that happens actually quite a bit because you get these DVRs and they're got proprietary software, and if you try to download it, your computer won't play the file or something, and so if you don't record it somehow, it'll record over. So I mean it's understandable, but that's all we have, so you can't do a complete analysis on the file itself to see if CGI was used. So we're kind of at a loss. The area itself has been known for the legend. Others reportedly have seen similar things around there. So I just spoke to, I don't know if you're familiar with Jaime Maussan. He's like the George Norrie of Mexico. And
yes, he used to be a reporter down there, correct?
I believe, yeah. I mean, he has a talk show he's got for decades, and
same person.
So yeah, I saw him recently, and he kind of cornered me and said, "Hey, can you get me in touch with this family? We really want to, look into this some more and everything." So it's still alive and well, and we get asked all the time about that case.
Oh. Well, what do you think was your favorite case? Whether you were able to debunk it or whether you weren't, you came away just okay. What was your favorite case? You came away scratching your head.
That probably has got to be the UK disappearing woman case, and I still maintain contact with her. This is the lady who had experienced what she thought was sort of like the classic abduction, scenario, sort of like a surreal dream, and saw UFO the night before, and then she was so terrified by the reality of what she felt that her husband set up a DVR system to record them while they slept, and then one day she reviewed the tapes. It appears as if she completely dissolves in the mattress, and is gone for 13 minutes. So that one, again, I think we satisfactorily showed how it could have been hoax, but to me that doesn't mean anything when I talk to these people, because I really got a sense of the truth, was being told here, that they didn't hoax it. So it's very interesting because not even she says that she thinks it's abduction, but what type of phenomena is going on, and did she really disappear from the bed? I mean, it's very interesting.
Yeah, because the whole abduction thing kind of is an interesting subject. I don't believe I ever have been, and I think I probably would know if I have. Maybe not, but yeah, I remember that one where you tried inflating the bed and deflating, put like bladders or something under the mattresses and stuff like that. If I remember right, yeah. And that is an interesting one. That is a good one. Well, along with your Fact or Fate, or along with all you have going on, you also are a spokesman for a night vision company, correct?
I am. Bushnell, a couple years ago, bought a night vision company called Night Optics USA. They've been in business for over 20 years, and they acquired them, and I went, trying to remember, I guess I had a Skywatch that event we were doing, and we invited these guys to come along with some of their scopes, their rep. I've always wanted a scope, so I saved up the money from the piggy bank and I bought one. And going into their office a lot, they're like, hey, you cover a lot of the audience that we're trying to reach. Would you, want to consider being a spokesperson? So I did, and set up a website. So I sell the stuff. And what we're trying to do, though, is because they don't know the paranormal world, we're really trying to get products developed that ghost hunting groups will like, and that's not as expensive as what's out there right now, and trying to get a bunch of different things for sky watches and all of that.
Yeah, I've been on the site a couple times, and you have some very nice stuff. And a couple of your your YouTube videos that I've went on to show how they work. The alien in the tent. You walk in and you get to see an alien. I was all excited, and it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, my buddy over at the news down there in Vegas is having some fun, and you know how the news kind of just laughs at these types of things and everything. But he actually, has a very open mind about it. But we did that news piece, and it's a lot of fun. The stuff, it's not cheap, but I can give, a really good discount of a couple $100 off of most of the stuff. And the thermal, if people want to go check it out, it's nightvisionops.com. But the thermal that we have been pushing is probably the least expensive thermal you can get into with this many features.
Oh, yeah.
FLIR makes excellent stuff, and FLIR was very good to us.
Right.
But, it was like $4,000 to $6,000. And now you can get into this for about $2,500, $2,700, and have your own thermal camera that does a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's not bad. If you have a paranormal group, chip in, and maybe in a year or maybe even less, you could get one of those. That's not bad at all.
It's kind of like the holy grail of what most groups want. It's kind of funny. You go around the country and like, oh, they've got a thermal. Where it's like,
they must be good.
Yeah, exactly. Or they've got their truck set up and they've got all the DVRs, running into it or something. But if you get that thermal, and for me, thermals, honestly, I think I really enjoy them for helping verify things. Like if you're experiencing a cold draft, use it and see if there's any, air coming in underneath the door or something.
Try to explain.
Yeah.
I don't want to put you in a bad light with your sponsor here, but if you had just one piece of equipment that you could take on a paranormal investigation, what would it be?
Well, the answer I normally give people is kind of a trick question, but I say a pen and a paper.
No, yeah.
Most of my background comes from writing reports, interviewing, and all that stuff. So I take a lot of notes, and you can't really remember everything that's going on unless you document it. And if people are actually going out to clients and businesses and things, and if they want to put on a very professional appearance, I really suggest they brush up on their writing and interviewing skills and compile things like that to put together. So
that goes a long way with being professional.
It does, and then they get the sense that these aren't just a group of Scooby-Doos, bumping around in the dark. And the other thing though that I use the most is probably a tri-field meter for EMF activity. Everyone I know, they kind of go for the K2s and stuff, but they're generally not set as sensitive
Right.
And the tri-field, as long as you make sure your cell phones are on airplane mode or far away from it, and you're shielded against the other spurious stuff. When that thing goes off, you'll actually get the needle, moving, and if it stays steady, whereas the K2s and the millimeter take quite a long time to respond before the digital numbers, start lighting up.
Right, and also like with the K2, you see so many people using those, and it's like they point the lights at something. They just hold it in their hand, like you're holding a little bitty coffin, and they point that at the wall. Everything that's the sensor inside of it's on the bottom of it, where you hold it up and down on a wall and run it past to see if where power is or anything. It's just, but I don't even think that's in the instructions on it. But it's if I get anything, we'll try holding it this way. Well, I'll be damned. Look at that. Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, people should take some time to get to know their equipment, especially when, like somebody, you can really put someone on the spot. And that's what I was always afraid of. Like on the show, we were introducing a new piece of equipment. Say the producers want me to use it, and we're like, okay, well, should we use a Geiger counter? And they're just like, okay, here it is. And I'm like, no, I've got to do my homework on this. I want a professional teaching me exactly how to use this. What is it measuring precisely? Because I need to explain it. And if you put someone on the spot, what are you doing with this K2? A lot of people have no clue, and they, when the light goes on, it means there's a ghost. It's like, well, people should really do a little bit of homework, try to find out how many axes, that it's measuring EMF on, which way you have to have it oriented. What's the range? What frequency is it loaded at, and all these different things.
Well, also doesn't that also have a baseline on it that you can set a baseline on it?
On the tri-field?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
No, there's not. It calibrates, I believe. It's automatically calibrated. There's no adjustments on it, though. It's
okay.
When you go to a place, and you get your baseline reading, it should be pretty much a steady needle, though.
Right.
So it shouldn't really deviate from that. That's one thing that some of the digital ones do have, is I think you can set it, for an ambient EMF, and then anything above it, it'll go off. So they do have their place, and I love the melters. I don't know if you've experienced it, but the thermal coupler that they put on there for temperature, sometimes that thing just seems to go crazy by itself. And I remember we were on investigation in Illinois, and it first happened, and it went up to 4,000 degrees or something like that, 400 degrees.
We better get out of here.
And I'm like, all hell's going to come loose through this door. And obviously we knew that wasn't the real temperature, but I thought it was something could be caused by a high EMF in the area. And I think it just might be a kind of a defect they've started to work out the bugs on. So I don't know.
I understand from a friend you have an interest in the Skinwalker Ranch. Have you ever been able to get up there to that yet, or do you have any plans of getting up to the Skinwalker Ranch to do a little investigating?
It's my unicorn. I have family not too far from there, and it's been like 2 winters ago. I do have a friend who's got a bed and breakfast out that way, and because it was winter and everything, we didn't want to actually drive out to the ranch, but I filmed something in the sky that was really kind of strange because it only picked up on thermal camera. And, the actual ranch, though, we're actually looking sometime this spring to go and talk to some of the neighbors and, get closer and just kind of see that whole Uinta Basin, you know, where it is, has historically been very active with UFOs, with Indian burial ground, you know, paranormal stuff, and
there's so much there that has going for it.
Yeah,
so many things that can really to help make all this stuff happen. You know, like I say, UFOs. There's so much that'd be a very cool place to get out and investigate. But I guess just got to read books on it now for a while. We got maybe about 10 minutes left, 15 minutes left here. But one thing I want to I'm going to give you a choice here of three things to close out talking about.
Okay.
And three things. Pick one of the three. Is, I already mentioned it once today, Planet X, chemtrails, or ancient giants here in the United States.
Huh.
Any of those three that sound good to you? You want to talk about just for a little bit?
Yeah, we could talk about the chemtrails a little bit. That's probably the one I know the most about. Do they exist or not? Right? Is that the big question?
Yeah, that's the big question, because you hear you always see people online saying, "Oh, look at today! You know, they're out today. They're out to kill us. They're out killing our babies and everything." And yeah, but look at the temperature. Look at the atmosphere temperatures. Well, look at they don't go away. Well, no, because there's no air moving up there today. The Gulf Stream's not moving, or something's not moving those along. But oh no, that's special. That's the stuff. That's the zinc in them that's keeping them together and to kill you longer. I don't know. So that anyway. Okay, I've gone on long enough about them. I think you know what I think about them. What are your views?
Well, what I am kind of disheartened with is that a lot of these opinions that people have, they're not based on sound theories. They're not just what you said. Well, it's lingering up there for a while, or they'll say they crisscross through the air or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
so if A exists, then what does that mean? What does B? So they crisscrossed. So what? So this, so that. And it's that they're not really articulating something that makes sense for the most part. So where you start from is, look, it's a fact. If you start with the facts, there has been weather manipulation patents.
Right.
There has been cloud seeding. I mean, I used to work at the airport in college, and they would go up with planes and dump silver iodide, I think is what it was.
Right.
To try and make the fog disappear by making it snow.
Mm-hmm.
So humans, Americans, we've been trying to control weather for decades, and I can almost guarantee there's some government agency out there now trying to control weather in some way or another. Okay. Not by personal knowledge, but why wouldn't you if you could control the weather?
Exactly.
But that's one theory, is that it's weather manipulation. Another theory is that they're trying to put some type of chemical into the air that will make people sick, that it will give us, some code identifier, within our system, that they'll prepare us for crossbreeding with aliens, that it will be, and so it could be anything. No one really knows. And so what they do is they focus on these weird, planes that are outfitted with, spraying devices and things like that. And like everything, one lecture that I give regularly is talking about learning, like, for yourself and trying to form, if it's worth having an opinion, it's worth doing your own fact-checking. Because so much of what we gather from any news source is grazing. We browse. We don't have time, so we hear a little snippet here and a little there.
Right.
And even the trusted news sources all have slants on things. And when you go and you look up the facts yourself and do your homework, sometimes it only takes Googling something for 5 minutes, and you see how completely ridiculous a claim is. I get these email forwards all the time. Remember one, it's probably last year, I got where they had these pictures of these planes, and they said that the Air Force was using them to do the chemtrails with. And they showed on the back of them some weird-looking antennas or something on the trailing edge of the wing that looked like it was fitted for special communications or for spraying or something. So I noticed that the plane had a weird symbol on it. It was a Greek letter. And so I looked it up and, looked for something that had that. It was the Omega symbol, I think. And found out that it was a contract company, that there's two planes that the Air Force does contract with, like they do their C-140s, to the C-140, the refuelers, or C-130, I can't remember. Anyways, they have a couple of them that they can't have the jets everywhere, at every point in time, and so they contract this company, and that's what their symbol is, and they have it on there. I'm like, well, that explains why there's this trailing thing. Looks like a long tube, coming off of the plane, and it even tells you where they're based out of and everything else. And it's amazing how people will take a little bit of information, and one of my other lectures is about hoaxing. So whether they intentionally or unintentionally, just because they're uninformed and they're caught up in their own little delusion, they spread this information without any basis of fact. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm not saying there's nothing, going on with the program, but I'm saying it logically, I have yet to be convinced why the government would do that, because they're breathing the same air that we are.
Exactly.
And for what purpose?
Yeah, that's my big comeback on that. Now the politicians, they've had a shot to cancel it. Okay,
how convenient.
That makes perfect sense then.
Conveniently, and they can't even keep top classified information classified anymore because people leak it, right? And no one has come forward and told us about the secret shots that they're getting, and
exactly.
So
we do have a caller with a question. You want to take a question real quick, Ben?
Sure.
Okay. Hey, William, this is Jim. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Jim. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm living the dream.
Brian, I have got to pick your brain here. Love what you do. Love that you disprove before you prove. Too much of that goes on in the field these days. What do you think about, all the drama and crap that's been going on in the paranormal field, this, that, and the other with, accusations of fake evidence and all that's been going on?
Well, thanks, Brian. I try to stay out of the drama. I mean, I don't even I used to go on all the time to the blogs and see what people are about me and our show. And, I think, first of all, there's way too much negativism, and too much tearing down. And it's become such a competitive thing, but for no real reason. Most people, most groups aren't getting paid, to do what they do. And those who are on TV, I have heard things. I definitely have heard things about other shows, and what they may or may not have done. But at the end of the day, I tell people, again, going back to do your own homework, you have to realize that the TV shows and things like that, it's show business, and they primarily are in it for business.
Exactly.
If you get to learn something at the end of the day, great. If it opens people's mind a bit more, like Ghost Hunters, despite the faults that any show has, it's getting the topic out there, and that's primarily what it's good for.
Yeah,
so,
we just in our field we find that the local teams. I was talking to a guy earlier online who asked my advice on starting up his own team, and it's like, this is great. People like you that are going out and getting the information and starting up teams and stuff. That's what we need. We don't need all the crap that goes on. And I encourage all teams, all people to go out there and start up their own teams and get that information back to us and share it. Share techniques, share ideas, and your show is just it's that it teaches people to prove before they disprove, or vice versa, and love it.
And have integrity,
right.
Like I was saying about recording, documenting things, because you probably experience it as I do when I travel to different events. I'm all the time told, hey, look, we got this certain local group that's helping us out, but we're not inviting this one because we're fighting with them and because they did this or that. And it's like, it's incredible how many people are at odds with each other, and they try to tear down. Like, just ignore it. You don't need to go there, and you can develop your own reputation by being professional, by being honest, and doing your best to stick to a methodology with your client.
Yeah. Very good. That's all I got for you. I don't want to waste any more of your time. Keep it up, man.
Thanks, Brian.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for calling in. You have a good night. Well, one thing, I want to just jump one more time back to chemtrails. I live in central Illinois. I live about 130 miles south of Chicago. So I'm also right on the interstate system, 57, 74, I-72, and the jets, the commercial airliners, they follow
vector
interstate routes.
Yeah, vector path. Yeah.
Right, and so here in central Illinois, you want to talk about a checkerboard, but we have them flying out of Indy, we have them flying out of St. Louis, we have them flying out of Chicago. I mean, and it's all just a big. I mean, it's a wonder we're still alive with all the stuff they're dumping in our air over central Illinois.
I think people need to be more concerned about the blue laboratory juice that comes out of the toilet that they occasionally, dump on accident, whatever, than
that's their 10 minutes of fame on local television, though, and an interesting insurance claim.
Yeah, it comes down as ice and goes through your roof, and then you got stuff all over you.
Exactly. Oh my God, that would be awful.
I'll tell you, when I worked at I worked for SkyWest Airlines through college, and I was a ramp guy, and there was one time I was had the duty of hooking up the dump, so you get all that stuff out when the plane comes in, put it in a little cart and go dump it. Well, one day I went to dump it, and I forgot to shut the valve again. So I hooked up the hose to the plane, pulled the levers, and it went down the tube into the cart and then all over the ground.
Oh.
So
my God.
It was great because I saw pieces of toilet paper stuck on the wheel of the plane as we were pushing it out.
Oh, God. Clean up on runway 33.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's funny. Well, I think we've probably taken enough of your time tonight. And again, I want to first off apologize for getting this off to a late start. They just had some sort of technical problems. And again, thank you very much. And you want to tell us what you have a personal website too, don't you?
I do. In the process pretty soon of just making a little more tweak and everything, but the info's up there. It's Ben Hansen, HANSEN.com, and there's links there to the night vision stuff as well. But anyone that's interested can just send me a message. Just say you heard about it, and go on there, see if there's any night vision stuff you want at nightops.com or night vision ops, and I can work you a deal. See what we can do for you.
Okay. Still want a hat.
Oh, the hat, yeah. Yeah, I need to see what we can do about that, because they generally just give those away, at the event.
Well, I'm all for free stuff. That's the only way to do it nowadays. But anyway,
we'll see what we can do.
Okay, well, thank you very much again for being on the show. It's been a pleasure. You have a great knowledge about everything paranormal. I think that you could be a certified paranormal geek. You know where we got the paranormal geek name from, don't you?
Oh, was it from Sharon Day?
Yep. She contacted me and said, "Would you want to do a show with my name?" And I said, "Heck yeah."
That's awesome. She still needs to send me her book. I don't even know where to get it. I'd like to look at it.
The Paranormal Geeks one?
Yeah.
Well, I know she has some, but I have some. If you want to message me your address, I'll send you one.
But that'd be cool.
Maybe from her, she'd autograph it.
Yeah.
Her and Julie would autograph it. I'd autograph it, but my autograph ain't nothing. I'd still have her name.
I'm in Arizona about every month and a half or so I should drop her a line sometime. Just go grab a copy.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, well, again, thank you very much. I want to thank you for being here tonight, and I want you to be safe, have fun and whatever fun and successful in whatever you got going on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks,
Have a good night.
All right. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All righty. It's Ben Hansen, Mr. Ben Hansen, from Fact or Faked, which doesn't sound like it's going to be back on again. But they're always, I don't know how many times, it's kind of like the Twilight Zones. You can always watch Twilight Zones over and over and over again. And, oh, yeah, the book is to serve man. Oh, I get it now. It's a cookbook. But Fact and Faked is kind of the same thing. You get to watch over and over and over again. And they're always just a pleasure. They're a lot of fun to watch. They all seem to get along so well. And Ben taking time out of his day to stop in here for 45 minutes or so. That really helps. And thank you, William, for calling in tonight. That was very nice. And for the next hour, we're going to have Miss Sharon Day and Julie Ferguson on. And they are actually on now. And how are you ladies doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing great. Yep, we're just fine.
Good. Just hanging out, doing girly
We're actually
things,
getting ready for a road trip tomorrow.
Oh, where are you going tomorrow?
We're going to go document a bunch of ancient Indian glyphs and check out a place where people have seen Bigfoot in the desert.
What would he be doing in the desert?
Well, I'm thinking if native tribes could live there, he could too.
Well, yeah. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have some shade.
He's a bald Bigfoot.
and his feet would burn.
With his shades on and his leather skin.
His Panama hat.
Mm-hmm. And his shades, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Zinc oxide on his nose.
Just be chilling by the oasis.
You're drinking a mojito, yeah. The drink of choice by Bigfoot, yeah.
Or whatever Bigfoot drink.
I'm going to take a wild guess that Bigfoot goes into a bar. He gets to drink whatever he wants.
Exactly. I bet you doesn't pay.
Oh, yeah.
No. How much is that? Yeah, I'll tell you what, big guy.
Yep. He can reach the expensive bottles on the top shelf.
Yeah. Or snap your neck, get into them. One of the two.
Oh, boy, we got off the rails here.
Yes, we did. We had derailed. Well, so what did you think of Mr. Hansen tonight?
Oh, I adore Ben. I want to clone him. He's not just adorable, but he's logical, and I love people that take this science of paranormal as logic-minded, skeptical people, and they don't have a belief system that they're trying to prove. They just want the best evidence, and yeah, I respect the heck out of that.
I think that goes a lot along with his the law enforcement part of him too.
Mm-hmm. True.
You just can't walk up to a scene and come to a conclusion. You gotta check all the facts.
And there's enough of a big boy paranormal geek inside of him too.
Yes.
I think that there's probably this little kid inside of him that every time he goes on an investigation, he's thinking, oh boy, UFOs. So that I like. That's passion.
It's funny. I'm getting more and more that way about UFOs too, and I don't really know why.
I used to poo-poo UFOs. I didn't find any value in them, but I've seen enough of them that I'm curious now.
Yeah. Well, you see, I saw. I said this a couple of times on the show, so I'm not going to tell the whole story again. I saw the first one a couple of years ago on the night of the 4th of July. There was alcohol, but it was not enough to make me see things in the sky. And I'd always wanted to see one, and it's like, well, I'll be damned. I have no idea what it is, and I was sitting there with a pilot that used to pilot F-4s back right after Vietnam, and he didn't know what it was, so I guess good enough for me.
Mhm. Yep.
We let's see. We do have a caller being checked out right now, and he does have a question. Let me get this. Let me bring this caller on. William, how you doing tonight?
Hi. I'm good. I've seen your show a little bit. You guys investigated the Jonathan Reed case?
Who's that? Who's that question for?
On the show for Ben.
Okay, Ben's not on. Ben's not on anymore. He had to leave.
Oh.
But I wish I knew.
Oh, all right.
Familiar.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. No, you guys are covering a lot of paranormal stuff tonight.
We try to cover a little bit of everything paranormal because in our opinion, for too long, paranormal's just been about ghosts, and it's
right.
Definition-wise, if there is an official Webster's definition yet, it's everything that's kind of unexplained, whether it's ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot,
right,
Chupacabra, anything.
Right. When you say ghosts, I mean, do you refer to time-attached residual, or do you refer to hologram by grays? Studying people, or bringing spirits to fulfill their time, or multiversal crossovers.
All that.
Yeah, the term ghost really is used like UFOs are used. We say UFO, we see something we can't explain. It could be alien, it could be ours, it could be an airplane or a balloon. Ghosts are sort of the same. Any phenomena that we run into that's it seems to be either intelligent or fleeting and unexplained, that would make it in the ghost category. And we like to think of paranormal as basically science waiting to be discovered, because all of it manifests in our physical world, so it's somehow under our physical rules.
Yeah, I have a lot of personal experience in my life on round vehicle platforms. Being I grew up with the DOD and agency and all, and I have a lot of vast experience of what people are just now experiencing. A lot of things. In fact, been on quite a few round vehicles, operated by Grays and other. The technology is very simplistic, and people would just gasp at just how simple it is. I mean, everything's a wave. All life, all matter, everything.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. On my blog, Ghost Hunting Theories, tomorrow I have a post going up about infrasound and the possibilities of anti-gravity using infrasound, and an interesting experiment somebody did with water. And when you see what it can do to water, you realize what it could do to propulsion or to the human body. And even the question comes to mind, and the question comes to mind, if a human was bombarded by infrasound coming off of a UFO, it's possible that we could have either amnesia or lost time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yes. I mean, we are a wave. Our thoughts propagate on a gravitational wave. As as science has proven, our thoughts operate between 7 and 11 hertz, just as a gravity wave isn't a frequency, but has a low carrier wave of 7.4 hertz. And, as the Lord said, I hear you instantly, because our thoughts on a propagating gravity wave propagate instantly. Just as all teleporter technology inherently has to have a gravity generator in it. And just as... And exactly, you get all matter has a gravity inherent in it, has a gravity A and a gravity B, and water is great for that because hydrogen does not have an electron, and gravity has a propensity of extending towards the electron shell. Electron half spin is good for bending things. And,
exactly. I mean, look at galloping Gertie and the resonance. I mean, it tells you something about frequency and what you can do if you apply the right frequency. And all of this is basically, we think it's high technology that aliens would use, but they're really using some very simple concepts that we just haven't figured out how to
Very
find.
much so. Exactly. In fact, the way that they moved the pyramids was they used a very predictable mass. It had to be made out of granite or limestone. They cut it to a certain shape, whether they did so physically by hand or on frequency. And they would make it a certain mass, and they would oscillate that sound or that wave, and make the rock or the mass its own gravity generator. And it would just take 3 or 4 people to move a 220-ton rock while it was levitating. Very, very, very right, and very much so. That's why they had scarab beetles. Bees and scarab beetles do not fly; they levitate. They oscillate their own gravity through their exoskeleton. Bees do not have enough surface area to fly. They don't have enough surface area to lift themselves off the ground. What they do is they produce a gravity, and they levitate. They merely just move a little bit of air to maneuver and stabilize.
Okay. So that's
true.
That's why it's so popular there.
Wow.
That's very cool.
And yeah. I mean, that's why they always put scarab beetles next to water in the pyramids. Was to generate a conducive gravity so people could gather around and have a conducive culture that was uplifting and congenial enough for a society. That's why people pick certain ley lines or live up on top of volcanoes or live near pyramids. You have a 3-dimensional sine wave of 5 points going through the Earth, and those 5 hot points, in this timeline or in the 5,125 years, is Florida, couple places in Russia, off the coast of Japan and Australia. Those are the hot points. That's why around vehicles are for a more conducive free energy type thing. They generate enough, it's more conducive. And that's why people pick certain locations, and that's why Bigfoot is in certain locations. Mostly because of underground tunnel systems and facilities, but
is that your theory on how they get around? That there's just a massive cave complex underneath the United States, and they can.
Sort of. They're either relocated if they need to be. Bigfoot is obviously very intelligent and would have to be very discreet. I've never seen one personally. I have a family member who has. And described the smell very, very notably, and especially for about 3 years running, back in high school when it happened. I grew up near Mount Wilson. There was a time and a period back in the 90s that we were not to go up near Mount Wilson, that people were disappearing. And it wasn't from Bigfoot either. It was from other things. And, I grew up agency. I grew up a company, CIA. I was brought in, inducted in the CIA at a very young age. Grew up Navy. Became a very young Navy lieutenant at age 14, if you can believe that one. That was given to me at age 24. I was part of a colonization program
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Jim?
Yes.
I would say you need to get his information for a potential future show because we don't have enough time tonight to cover it, but this is really interesting.
Yeah, I am actually on his Facebook page right now.
Okay, great.
I was going to start that route.
That's interesting, and I think that needs to have a show. So yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll cover all that some other time. But more importantly, on your show, we have a very special person coming forward that's very much in the politicians realm, who's very well known, who is also coming forward. We're not saying who it is just yet, but a lot of people know who this person is, who is corroborating the Mars program, who is corroborating teleportation, who is corroborating a lot of things that we've talked about.
It's not Bigelow?
I'm sorry, I can't tell you, but we will be announcing very soon. Mm-hmm. The person is very well known and very very well respected in the political arena.
Oh, wow.
And
so I mean that our government's ever going to open up and say yes, the UFOs. I see it happening, but I don't see us doing it. I see
we're trying.
Russia or Mexico or someone opening up first, saying yes, look at what we've got.
Well, the one of the approaches that I do is I explain the physics to people. Very much things like the tops and bottoms of round vehicles have to be glass or plastic-like because you can't put an EM, non-EM effect through metal. So the tops and bottoms of round vehicles are basically lenses or glass or have to be a dielectric material. You have to propagate, in propagating the gravity, you have to, you convert it a little bit, and you convert it to, that EM conversion wave, and you saw it and it forms its natural conducive shape, very much like the center of our galaxy. The reason why the center of our galaxy, a supermassive black hole, is the shape that it is because it's a gravity generator, and it's in the shape of a disk because its conducive shape is the shape of a disk.
Just with a
that is
more or less on
yes. That's why our galaxy, it's a galactic motor. It's basically a 12-phase gravity generator and lots of other things device. As all atoms are a device, all atoms are an over-unity device. And all atoms, all matter is a wave. It is just, it is both a fixed universe and it is both a observable universe. We make matter tangible and real. On the seventh day, the Lord rested because He had made people. People could co-create.
Okay. Well, I will definitely. Do you have a website or anything that
No,
other than
not
Facebook we can get a hold of you?
Yeah, Facebook's about the best you're gonna do.
All right, I just say a friend request, and I'll get a hold of you the next couple of days, and we can talk some more about this.
Awesome. I'd love to hear from somebody out there. Bigfoot location to go to. Are you Uncle Jim?
Am I Uncle Jim?
Yeah, Heater.
Yeah, I am Jim. Yes, I am Jim Heater. Yes.
All right, Uncle Jim. I just became friends with Uncle Jim.
Okay, well, that's me.
Cool.
Yep, that's me. So I'll get a hold of you here in the next couple of days, and we can talk some more, and maybe schedule to be on the show for an hour or so.
That'd be great.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for calling in.
Thanks. I just wanted to confirm to everyone that everyone thinking in the terms of ghosts is very real. We are a spirit, and there are multiple different forms of translations of that, just as there's 8 different forms of teleportation or time travel. And don't go with mainstream science. Mainstream science is just stupid. Oh. It's just dumbed down, ridiculous. My father did a good part of it. I helped design. Light is not a particle by any means. If light was a particle, a 3-year-old would tell you it would break the glass going through the bulb. You don't need a degree to be wrong. You don't need a master's degree in science to be wrong.
No, very true.
Well, yeah, light is all wave. And all right, thanks a lot, guys.
All right, no, thank you. You have a good evening. Thanks for calling in.
You too.
Right, bye. Very, very interesting.
Yep. You know me, I could talk about paranormal anything all night long.
Oh, heck yeah. And like I told you there at the very beginning, and I think I said on the very first show and maybe the third show, fourth, fifth, whatever, that we need to get the word paranormal out of just the spirits or the ghost realm, the ghost hunting realm, because it envelops so much, and you know there's so much out there that can't be explained. Yeah. Or it's explained.
And I think we'll find something unifying in the science field that explains how and why these things are intermittent and tough to capture.
Yeah. Let's see, what were we doing last? Let's see, we were making fun of Bigfoot. I think we'd moved on from that. But you, speaking of Bigfoot, you posted a audio or a video from M.K. Davis. That was pretty interesting. Had some interesting vocalization in it. Maybe
last week we had MK on, and he was discussing a study of Bigfoot that he's been involved in, and I've been lucky enough to be able to be part of this little think tank of people studying these films. But he just released one this morning. It's an audio that's unbelievably impressive and really showcases their ability to mimic languages and animals. And it was a very interesting. He's going to be soon releasing a video that's going to go along with that. That's going to show some visual, but this audio is remarkable. The setting for the video is it was one of those sort of surveillance cameras that was set into a tractor barn, and they had been leaving, I guess, blankets inside the barn for the Bigfoot, and one of them had gone in there, and you can hear him making a lot of vocals, and he's even trying to say one of the researchers' names and imitating sounds from our language, and it's very disturbing and unusual, and I think it's definitely worth listening to. Okay.
Now, because we had this late start, I didn't get it started and pause it where it's supposed to, where the vocalization is.
Okay, just scroll it along.
Okay, because on the soundboard I can't fast forward either, so it's going to have to be the whole spiel with.
Him explaining what it is. If everybody doesn't mind, I think how long is the video?
6 minutes and 46 seconds.
Does everybody want to do 6 minutes?
I can do 6 minutes.
There's something to be proud of here.
No.
Okay, my mind went right to the getter.
No, yeah. Well, I never thought I'd be.
Okay,
never mind.
I say go for it because I would like a discussion to begin about potential mimicry and language for Bigfoot.
Okay.
So let's go for it.
Well, I will go ahead and start here. Here we go.
Hello, I'm M.K. Davis. I have a video that I'd like to show you. And this video was taken by a security-type camera that was hung on the outside edge of a building. And the building was a type of a tractor shed. And this tractor shed in this area right here was frequently visited by an alleged Sasquatch or Bigfoot. And the scene is out across this field to a little patch of woods where they thought would be a likely place that this Sasquatch would appear. As it did occur, the Sasquatch came from the blind side and actually entered into this shed, this tractor shed, and begins to make some vocals and audio that's picked up quite well by the camera. I'm going to amplify it here so you can hear it better. But let's listen to it. And remember that in this particular case, these Bigfoot or Sasquatch have demonstrated to be excellent mimics. They actually, it sounds that they heard people make, they would sort of repeat them much the same way like a parrot would. and sometimes over and over and over as they learned them. And if that's the case, you know, like I said, this is something that's new, novel, and interesting. And listen to it, see what you think. If you think it's a Sasquatch or could be a Sasquatch, this is an area where they were alleged to inhabit, and in a place where they were sort of concentrated by habituation attempts. So let's listen. Well, there you have it. This is occurring, like I said, inside of a tractor shed, and it's the same shed that you see in the video Tractor Guy. And is this the same fellow you see in the video Tractor Guy? I don't know. Could be. The voice sure sounds big and deep. Is it a Sasquatch? There again, can't see it, but the audio is very interesting. What do you think? Anyway.
Okay, there we go. And you see, that's one thing I like about MK. At the very end, he says, "Is it a Sasquatch? We don't know. We didn't see it." So you can't just sit there and say, "Yes, that was Sasquatch."
Yeah, you can. And I mean, I'm probably, and I probably drive people crazy about this, but I'm incredibly literal about the gathering of evidence. If I wasn't there and I didn't see how it was obtained, and I don't know the people involved and they haven't come forward, it makes me nervous. We're very lucky that MK has contact with the people who have worked on this long-term project, and they've kept meticulous notes and really gone to extreme lengths to try to elicit responses, find out about habits, find out about language, and they made an effort to call each other's names often in the woods, hoping that they would start to pick up on the names, and actually they would try to even imitate the voice of the callers. So, and I've listened to them on numerous tapes, imitating birds, imitating dogs, ducks, cooing to the chickens like humans do, calling the owners of the homes names. I've heard them use Native American language, and so there's a variety of this parroting behavior, and the question becomes, if this is truly a Bigfoot setting and these truly are speaking a language, and there's going to be some more stuff coming out that will help you piece this together. If this is the real deal, then what can we say about them? I mean, obviously they sound, like I said, this sounds like the brother on There's Something About Mary. I mean, he sounds like either he's mentally deficient, which could be, you could assume that because of the way he's speaking.
Right, I brought that up today with you.
But you also have to remember that they are so clever that even Matt Moneymaker can't find one. So, and he seems to think he's brilliant. So, they're very smart, and so we can almost eliminate that they're mentally deficient. But obviously, if you think about it, the setting in which they live is a very feral one. And for them to survive, they have to have an interaction with their environment where they can both cloak themselves when they need to, understand signals, like if the birds fly away, that means a human has entered the woods. They need to be able to have heightened senses so they know what's happening. And they also need to know and understand every animal's sound. And if a human enters their environment and is regularly there, they're going to be part of their parroting, their mimicry.
Yeah.
And you'll often hear them on videos. A crow will call a few times, and then they'll echo it. And they practice this constantly. And some of it could be signaling because they know nobody else is going to think that it's not another bird, but one of their own kind will know it's one of them speaking. That could be it. Mm-hmm. Another factor is they also sound almost like they're deaf when they talk. They got that round, rolling sound, like they're having a little trouble with vowels and stuff. But
that's to be expected, isn't it? When they're trying to speak, and that's not the way that they were. That's not the way their genetics, or that's the way that they're.
That's the kind of the conclusion I'm coming to, because I mean I've really been focusing mostly on their language and their customs and their way of living, the way their mind works. And when I listen to their language, what I'm hearing is that there's simply some sounds they can't make, and that has to be physical. You've got a hard palate, you've got a soft palate, you have vocal cords, you have your teeth, you have your jaw, and there's some sounds that we make that are either so foreign to their natural language or they simply can't physically make them.
Right, because look at how long their throat would be. From their jaw down. I mean, there's so much there.
Well, ever since we found something around we found something around the infrasound range that they had made, and we wondered, can they make infrasound? And the question becomes, well, we know elephants do, but they're huge. But we also know that the Okapi alligators, they make infrasound too. So really, what you need is just the right physical attributes to make infrasound. You don't need a big chest cavity or anything. There's a human being who can make infrasound, and the only reason he does is he has extra long vocal cords. And I think, we can say that maybe a 9-foot being would certainly have longer vocal cords and able to do that.
But you mentioned the Native American language. Do you want me to play that in Neshoba?
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. This is one we played last week. It was our debut, and this one's the one that damn near kept me up all night. I think this is it. Well, here we go.
Nashoba.
Okay, so there was that one. It had that long growl in it. That's a pretty low, fairly long, sustained growl. That's pretty cool.
I've heard some truly amazing sounds come out of them. They have a range that can go really fast. They can go from really, really low to really, really high pitch so quickly and then back down, and it's this really crazy roller coaster ride. They make some very primitive sounds that sound like grunting and snorting and stuff, and the whistling, and they also do the mimicry of animals and language. And there's a few. That one with the Neshoba that we just listened to was actually two of them together, and one of them spoke, I think, briefly, but it was mostly the one that was making the sounds and the chanting and the talking. And it was as if they were just sort of sitting around watching something or waiting for something and just kind of shooting the breeze.
Yeah, and the one I've heard this. I don't know how many times I've listened to it, but I noticed this time I listened to it where it broke it down more or less into syllables, where he said na, sho, ba, and the ba was more of an accent on the ba.
Mm-hmm. This is interesting too. In English, if you had an English speaker, we naturally put emphasis on the first syllable. And if you go to a foreign country, they generally use the second or third syllable to be emphasized. And these beings are using their second. If you notice the caliente, the yen, the second syllable was what was emphasized. And that, to me, was really key. That was either native or that was really a pretty brilliant little thing they threw in there.
The last one we had from last week is the mirror cam, and this one's only 36 seconds. And I think we ought to just go ahead and play that since it's only 36 seconds. And when we get done, I'll explain what the mirror cam, what that means. But here's the last audio. Like I say, it's only 36 seconds, but it's also a good one. Growling there, and there's also a lot of background noise. And if I remember right, that was them. That was a Bigfoot moving tires. Was that it?
It was an incident in which the group noticed that the Bigfoot kept moving the tires around the property all the time, and they thought there was some preoccupation with the tires. So they thought they'd make them inaccessible for them. So they chained the tires around a tree, and what they call, I guess, a bodock tree, and they went crazy. They were very upset that these tires were chained, and they spent the night ripping the tree down to get the tires loose. Yeah,
that's like I say. These are really amazing audio, and also we also talked about last week. I think we talked about this last week about the giants in the United States, and we've been kicking around that idea a little bit just this last week. Sharon and I have, and come up with some pretty interesting ideas.
The fun thing about the research in this area is that when you stumble across one bit of information, it just serendipitously leads you down this rabbit hole. And this week I ran into a whole bunch of information at the same time, and all of it sort of coalesced, and I went, aha, and it was a light bulb moment. So today on the Ghost Hunting Theories blog, I had up a what I call my Mind F Tuesday, where I F with your mind with a theory that's a little bit odd or a little bit unusual or maybe unsettling. And I discussed the incident of what they call the clan of the red-haired giants. And it was an incident, supposedly, at least in Paiute culture, they speak of this one, and it was actually validated by artifacts that in the old days there used to be these red-haired giants that were cannibals that would make war with the Paiutes. And the Paiutes had pretty much killed off most of the clan, but there were still some of the giants left, and they got them trapped into a cave where they asphyxiated them with smoke. And that was their legend. But then as there were some guano miners who, believe it or not, people mine for guano, they were in these caves, and it was actually a business. They were in these caves, and they uncovered these giant skeletons that verified this giant race. And I always wondered about, who are these giants? And I was reading something on a blog where they mentioned the possibility that they were the Ainu, and the Ainu were a Japanese tribe from one of the northern islands that had curly, wavy hair, had no Asian features, and were tall. And they believe that might have been them. Well, something went off inside of me that I went, oh my gosh, not only is it possible because this tribe had gone up to Mongolia and into Inuit territory in Alaska and bred with the Inuit. It being in Nevada is not all that unusual if they're going to be traveling the globe like that. But what really got me was I had come across a picture, and it was one that I think MK had put up at one time in the past saying, look at this tribe. There was a tribe found in, I think it was the early 1900s in Nevada, and the tribe had wavy hair, did not look like any kind of natives, but they lived and acted as if they were native people. And there was this photograph, and I went, oh my gosh, this looks just like the Ainu people from Japan. And so I put them side by side, and they were nearly identical. And they even tattooed, they even wore the same hat, sort of hat. So this might have been validation that there really was this tribe. And what's interesting to me about the Ainu is that they were of Eastern Asia, and those genetically we have found were related to the Denisovans, which was an ancient man that bred with Neanderthal and bred with modern man. So when we look at Pacific Islanders, we often find traces of Denisovan in them. So this could almost explain their extraordinary size and their unusual characteristics, and that they would seem strange and foreign to any of the natives here. So it was kind of an interesting thought, and it just sort of brought everything back around, and suddenly it all seemed to make sense. And so it's a theory I'm tossing out there, but
and we had an idea on the time frame of when they may have come over. And I found a map on the internet somewhere. Of course, you can find everything. And there was a map of the Innu coming over right at the time that it's thought that they crossed the land bridge from Siberia through Alaska, through Canada, and down, in between two giant glacier ice shelves into let's say into Washington, what is now Washington, Oregon, California, and into the West. And we found a correlation there.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's another thing, like Ben was talking about. You can't just take what's laid out in front of us. Everything, a lot of things we've been taught in school, man, it's not right, or it could be right. But,
well, here, and we discovered that there was. I was curious because I'm in Arizona, and I was wondering, did we have giants? And I found a paper that was really brilliant. It had pretty much covered everywhere around the earth where these giants were found, which is every continent. And there was one found, or there was one significant one found in Arizona that was found in a sarcophagus, in a sort of a wrapped, mummified kind of a thing, and there was a description of what they thought was Egyptian fabric and hieroglyphs inside the sarcophagus. But, I mean, if you're thinking about the 1800s and somebody finding this, to them that's Egypt, obviously, But I think what we're talking about is there was some kind of culture, and if this was even part of the Ainu and that they had come here and they were the giants of America, then their handwriting, which looks like glyphs to anybody who's English-speaking,
exactly.
Yeah, it would be so foreign and unusual, and their fabrics were unusual, and what they did was unusual in the way they buried their dead. So we could be talking about man having made it across much earlier than we thought, and even maybe a Denisovan, and I think the earlier version of Ainu was the Jin or something like that. So there's all these possibilities that there was all this global interaction going. I mean, we have hieroglyphs in many places, and we have pyramids in many places, and we have giants in many places. So the only conclusion we can make, at least the one I'm making, is not something crazy and out there, some UFO alien was dropping them from parachutes, but that maybe we might have had a continent somewhere we didn't know we had that made this whole world accessible in ways we don't remember, we don't recall because we weren't there. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, we actually have MK on the line.
Okay,
MK,
great.
Still there, sir?
Yes, I am.
Great. Thanks for hanging in there. We got kind of winded there. Had to sneak you in.
Oh, interesting stuff.
Oh, it is. How are you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm all right. I wanted to comment on the bat guano thing. Bat guano, the main reason why they mined bat guano, why it was lucrative to mine bat guano, was so that they could extract saltpeter from it, potassium nitrate, and make gunpowder, which was at a premium. So it was a very lucrative thing in any place that they could find where bats had been congregating. It got mined for the money they could make out of the saltpeter. Okay. I've been in Lovelock Cave. Lovelock Cave is in Emery Strong's 1963 book called Stone Age in the Great Basin. He said Lovelock Cave was 160 feet deep. And he showed a picture of his wife standing in the opening, and now that opening is almost choked completely up, and rocks have been put in front, and it's only about 40 feet deep, and and now they're building a wooden deck over that. So it's nowhere near the cave that it once was. You can see where the black soot along the roof of the cave goes all the way to the floor and disappears into the dirt. So, it goes way on down there. That soot is kind of funny because you can put your thumb on it and leave it there a few minutes, and it'll turn into a soft, waxy, it's actually fat that's very old. So, whatever was burned in there contained quite a bit of fat. Yeah. And it ended up being deposited on top of the cave. I believe... Go ahead.
No. Do they also use... wasn't bat guano used for, like lanterns and... Isn't it pretty flammable?
Well, saltpeter, yes, it is. It's one of the main... It's one of the ingredients of gunpowder, so it... Yeah,
okay,
so
I guess that's what would make it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's also a medicinal value too. I don't know if you've ever seen kids when they make the volcanoes, for school projects, and they'll put a little saltpeter in there and light it, and it'll just, shoot out flames and all different colors. And saltpeter is it was and when you're talking about the Wild West days, gunpowder was at a premium.
Okay.
Lovelock Cave, and it's a mystery that really continues. It really continues to this day. I feel fairly certain that that's the cave in reference by the Paiutes, and I feel certain that some of that waxy material in there is from the conflagration that they had those people pinned in there.
Yeah.
As far as there's several of those big skeletons that made their way out. Made it to various places. People have seen them over the years. Now that we got DNA, they seem to be hard to find.
Well, now, you said that the cave is not what it used to be. It used to be deeper, and the mouth was larger and everything. Is this the Native Americans doing this, or is this nature? Is it the Park Service that's...
No, I think it's the Park Service. I think that they filled it in, largely, yeah. And they've now that they're building a wooden floor on it, so they're just completely blocking any kind of access to the floor or anything like that, where nobody can go in there and dig.
That's okay. So it's more for a safety and security reason than trying to hide something, you think?
Yeah, I don't really know for sure. You never know about the BLM. Yeah. I think about 80% of Nevada is owned by the BLM. It's government owned. And if there's anything, that the government tends, and anybody that's been in this field of endeavor very long, you get wind of what the government will and won't do, and the government seems to want things to stay on an even kilter and under control, and their oversight complete. And I think they get a little bit out of shape when there's something that they can't control or something that they can't totally have complete control of the information. So it's something happened back then. I don't think the Paiutes were lying. I think it really happened. And I think that it was some really extraordinarily statured people that were already here in the New World prior to Columbus, and whoever these people were, I think the biggest fear that the United States government has is that someone will lay claim on the land or say that they were here, and they got away with it with Native Americans because they considered them to be less than human.
Right, and inferior.
Inferior, right? So manifest destiny was that we had the God-given right to spread the boundaries of the United States from sea to sea,
right? Because
these people didn't own it; they were just squatters, and they were less than human, and they didn't have the rights that we had.
Yeah, that's so odd,
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's completely backwards.
Well, but I mean, it's not uncharacteristic of the way things have been, business has been done, in the past with Europeans and really, the Native Americans actually fought quite a bit among themselves. It's land, territory, people have always fought over it. But I think that if someone was already there, someone of a civilized nature, perhaps, or even just what do you do? Because you can't keep spreading your boundaries without infracting their boundaries. And
exactly.
The best thing you can do is just pretend they didn't happen.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting back to now. Just it never did happen.
Whatever these people are, and I don't if they're giants or if they're Caucasians, they're out of place. Ainus, I think, is that how you say it? The Japanese people, and that,
right.
Maybe that's those pictures that Sharon put up, of those desert people. The Smithsonian refused to publish them when they first took those pictures because they didn't have an explanation for them. It frightened them that there were people with beards out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because that denotes a European origin, or maybe perhaps even an Asian origin, and it wasn't like the Native Americans that they said were less than human.
Right.
So it's a little iffy and scary, governmental wise, that that maybe we're not as legitimate as we think we are sometimes. But well, it's a little late for that, but. It is something.
MK, you're right about that, because if they would recognize a tribe that looks nothing like any other tribe that they can't explain, why in the world would they ever admit to UFOs or Bigfoot?
Oh, right. That's why the government has gotten to a point where people don't trust what they say. They almost assume a cover up. I mean, it's if there's anything out of the ordinary, extraordinary. For some reason, the government feels the need to keep it quiet, and they do. Yep.
But there's so many things. I mean, exactly right. Something you don't understand, it's a conspiracy. Something that just you don't want to understand, you call conspiracy.
The guy that wrote Independence Day, the movie, who produced the movie, asked for the government's help in the movie, and they said, sure, because you put us in a good light. But then they turned around and said, but we want you to remove all references to Area 51. And the director said, we can't do that. It's pivotal to the movie. And then they said, well, then we won't help you.
Yep.
So even at that late date, they were denying, Area 51. They didn't want any publicity, and they didn't want people to even say the name. So
you can roll right up to the gate where it says they call it Area 51, and they'll say it doesn't exist. Well, then what are you guarding out here?
Yeah, and then Bigfoot don't exist, even though they got it on military maps and survival training maps. There are pictures of Sasquatch. In case you might run into one, that even though it's not there.
Yeah, wasn't it Oregon or Washington State have it on their on a pamphlet?
I believe that training map went with Fort Lewis up there in Washington State. I believe.
Yeah. What's to do if you're confronted by a Bigfoot?
Well, you don't have to go that far. There's other places in the United States. I've learned that over the years. You don't really have to go to the faraway places. Absolutely, because wherever Bigfoots are, they'll surprise you that they're there. So these recordings that y'all are playing, I really appreciate y'all playing these. These guys worked very hard to get that situation to where it was, where they could get these recordings. And they're absolutely amazing. And there are others to come too, as I render them off these discs, and they I've been fortunate enough to be involved in a couple of I consider to be really good pieces of Bigfoot evidence, and that one being the Patterson film, and now these being not nearly so old, these are probably a better form of evidence for me. It is because the Patterson film happening so long ago, and most of the principles involved with that filming are gone. So it's much better to me to get something fresher and closer to everybody's time now, and my gosh, it's how lucky can a man get?
Yeah. Now, the majority of these are given to you on VHS tapes, correct?
Right. They were on VHS tapes and analog, which I prefer it that way, and I'm really glad it came to me that way, because I was in complete control of the digitization process, and the chain of custody was known, so once you enter the digital world, of course, anything can be done manipulation-wise, and so you have to, if you have that good VHS analog stock to refer back to, so that,
right.
These things can be verified, which is, that's what makes all of this so marvelous, is that it's verifiable, and you can, the place is not it's not such a long time ago, and it's very much like it was then. So you can, if you look at it now, you'd be like looking at it then. It's nothing's much changed.
Yeah, and wouldn't it also? I know you're not a big film aficionado or anything, but wouldn't also the VHS be harder to fake?
Yeah, especially in the audio, because to change pitches and things like that, you almost have to be digital,
right.
or either run audio through a filter. But it's coming straight off that VHS stock, which is it's unchanged. It's about as good as it gets, really.
Right.
The chain of custody is known, and it's off analog stock and verifiable, and then you got this marvelous tool called digital that you use to get the very best of this. Go down to the very low frequencies and the very high frequencies, and filter out the hisses and maybe some of the bugs and hear it with great clarity. It's analytically wise, you couldn't ask for a better setup.
Well, you've done wonders with this. I mean, like when Sharon put this up or sent this to me today to play tonight, and every one of these, I mean, it just makes it more and more and more believable.
It kind of brings it home, doesn't it? It does to me. And sometimes, if I don't listen to it for a while, I'll go back and make sure I hear it again, because you forget just how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you stay away from it for a little while, your mind, it quickly fades, and you start to thinking this or that, and maybe it brings Bigfoot right back if you listen to these. It brings it fresh and puts it right back in front of you, and these things kind of slap you and make you pay attention. We're very societal as people. We hang with each other, and it's hard to imagine that there is another society living, however rudimentary, and out in the forests. But they have their own ways too, and it's kind of like a slap in the face, to hear something like these audios that y'all are playing, and this latest one, that it kind of does some speaking, and the one y'all played of Neshoba where it speaks words,
right?
That is wild. I mean, it's just we don't know nearly everything there is to know. No, and like Sharon, we were talking earlier about the different languages where she put up, the Neshoba means wolf in Choctaw. I'd be interested in knowing, if other clans throughout the United States, if they use different Native American languages for what they grew up with, or what grew up around them that they learned. That you might recall, if you remember your Bigfoot history, the days of yore, there was a group of miners that were attacked up on Ape Canyon. They called it Ape Canyon up there in Washington, and it was 1924. Well, about 2 weeks after that was published in the newspapers, a Clallam Indian chief responded. He says that he said there were giant people that spoke Clallam, and he said that they thought they were all gone, but apparently they weren't. So I remember him saying that in his rebuttal, his follow-up article. They had this Indian commenting, this Indian chief, and he said that they were Clallam. They spoke Clallam. The giants did, and in that area, Clallam was a dominant language.
Well,
so perhaps maybe they just speak whatever they hear locally,
Right.
I can only guess.
Right, and the same, say, Neshoba. That means wolf, but I think Sharon mentioned that, or you mentioned that, it could be that that's somebody's name, or that Neshoba could be their word for grass or chicken. Or
it could be just a similar
word
sound
that they picked up. Yeah. That they just picked up and they use it for their word, where they want to make it fit.
Yeah, well, it's whatever they want to speak. They're just fine by me. I enjoy listening to it. I don't understand it, but I feel like some of it I do. If you know the situation, where this one came into the tractor shed, and he was speaking some language there. Well, I happen to know what was in that shed, and what they had left in the shed was left for them, and it was a blankets. And he came in that shed, and I'm sure that it was speaking in some reference to those blankets. So, that I don't know exactly what it means, but I know that it probably was talking about that, whatever it was.
Well, you mentioned in the one you released today, about the tractor guy, or I think.
Yeah, so video I released quite a while back.
Yeah. Was that the one where the Bigfoot came out of the woods, went behind the shed, and then there was a car there with lights on, and it went back in, and the tractor came back?
Right. They visited that shed often. That shed was a place where gifting was taking place, where they would leave things for them. So if you watch these guys, especially the white one at the feeder, I don't know if you recall that one. You watch how quickly he goes to that feeder and gets away.
Yep, he nails it and it takes back off.
Yeah, but there's sweets in there, and you know it worked on him enough that it made him get up and go to the feeder during the day. So if you get them comfortable enough, and the reward is great enough, then they leave the protection of the night and end up moving about during the day.
Yeah.
Which has ended up being a real boon for video,
Right. Just need to get the cameras a little bit closer.
Yeah, they might have actually been fairly close. They were security-type cameras, and I don't know if you were familiar with those of that day. Wide angle, everything looked like far away.
Right.
It really wasn't that far. Some of it, if it had been some of the modern-day cameras that we have now, it probably would have been excellent video,
Well, MK, I got like 2 minutes left of the show.
Yeah, look, I didn't mean to take up all y'all's time. I'm sorry.
No, dang, I enjoy it. No, don't ever feel that way.
MK, you are so welcome here anytime.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I really appreciate it. I appreciate y'all's show too. It's very interesting, every bit of it.
Thank you.
It just goes to show, we don't know everything there is to know, and we scratch around this surface of this earth, trying to pick up tidbits, and we get little ideas about things and how we got to the point where we are now, and what else might be inhabiting this earth with us. Mm-hmm. Every tidbit we can glean is just is a big piece of a bigger puzzle.
Yep, just that much more. Just one more piece. Well, thank you very much. I hope you had a good vacation last week. And,
it was okay. We had to rush back, but we were all right.
Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you very much for calling in, and I know we'll talk to you in the future. Whenever you want to call in, call in.
I appreciate it.
All right. You have a good night, sir.
Bye.
Oh, that's nice. I always like when he calls in. Someone in chat, I don't remember who it was, I like his voice. Yeah,
he's like that uncle that you could sit and listen to his war stories all night. He is just mesmerizing.
Out on the front porch, and
yeah, he's just the way he is. He's just good people.
Yep. We got a minute left, a little less than a minute left. Next week's guest is an author named Sylvia Schultz, and you can go on Paranormal Geeks radio.blogspot.com or /blogspot.com. Read up on her. Sounds like a very interesting guest. And also really wanted to take a second here to remind everybody about May 18th at the Pollock Hospital in Bartonville, Illinois. There is a paranormal meet and greet, and it's also like a paranormal unity summit. And a lot of the paranormal team's going to be there. I've been asked to be a speaker, which that ought to be good, so I don't particularly like speaking, but we'll see how that goes. And I believe it's $30 for the whole day, and that includes an investigation at the end of the night there at Martinville at the Pollock Hospital, which is very haunted. It's haunted as hell. Anyway, 10 seconds left, kids. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Sharon, Julie, thank you both for being here.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to thank everybody in the chat room. You all have a great evening.